evolutionary basis. So,
On evolutionary basis?
yes, evolutionary basis.
Yes. The evolutionary...
The evolutionary basis. Hurry guys, you're on in 5! 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Psychology Show. So proximity maintaining behaviour is also part of Bowlby's attachment theory. Basically, it says that you have to stay close to someone and you have to do anything, you will do anything to stay close to them. You don't want to stay far away from them, because if you stay far away from them, triggers like fighting will occur and then you'll keep close to them. That's proximity maintaining behaviour. The behaviour in which... Oh, did you stop filming already? The behaviour in which you try and keep someone close. For babies, this is things like crying, laughing, smiling, giggling, or being cute in general, like Libby's demonstrating here. Everyone else in the room can see it. Everyone else but you. As you may have noticed, we're talking about monodonotropy.
Monotrope. One Direction, in Latin, or the Latin of trophy, is One Direction.
One Direction, basically, they're a really gay band. But monotropy, however...
Shut up. I can't believe you just said that. I love One Direction.
Oh my god, no one cares. Monotropy, basically, it's saying that the child... What? It's basically saying that the child... Yeah, I know what it is! Basically, it means that the child's love goes in one sort of direction into one human being. So you have the one primary caregiver is what Bowlby said, and that's the ups and downs of monotropy.
So, the sensitive period. No, ladies, that's not your menstrual cycle.
That's the worst joke I've ever heard in my life. The sensitive period is basically explaining that a certain behaviour should develop within a certain time period, but the emphasis is on should. So, as the emphasis is on should, it can happen outside that period, but with difficulty. On the other hand, the critical period is when it must happen in a certain period, or it will never happen again.
Never. Understand?
Actually, I'm alright. You can embarrass yourself further.
I think big-headed you want to really go. You're always going to be centre of attention. So why don't you just start? So all eyes on you. Everything is always yours, like everything. We always have to talk about your problems. We always have to talk about issues, like with your girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever it is. I've had enough. It's all about you.
Is it?
You know, it's all about you boys.
Well, I'm glad you've noticed that. Alright, okay, so pre-attachment usually happens within 0 to 6 weeks. Now, pre-attachment is the stage that Libby is permanently in. Never attaches to anyone because she is a cold-hearted bitch.
This is 0 to 6 weeks, and this is where there's no specific attachment with for the baby. So the baby won't recognise their own mother, primary caregiver, father, whoever it is, when being passed around. Number 2, attachment in the making. That's 6 weeks to 7 months. So if you imagine I'm holding a baby, is my baby, and I pass the baby to Philco.
I'm very good, sure.
To the baby.
Oh, hello.
The baby will start crying because he doesn't recognise Philco. But at the pre-attached stage, 0 to 6 week, if I gave the baby to Philco, the baby would not cry because it wouldn't recognise Philco as me. This is 7 months, 18 to 24 months.
Do
this
introduce my co-presenter.
A really strong idea of who the primary caregiver is. So they would whinge and cry, like tantruming, all sorts, just like Philco when he doesn't get his breakfast. Number 4 is a reciprocal relationship. This is 18/24 months to about 2 years. This is a two-way relationship. It's where you can communicate and talk to a child and toddler.
We don't have a reciprocal relationship at all.
Those 4 phases are the phases of pre-attachment, attachment in the making, clear-cut attachment, and reciprocal relationship of Bowlby's theory of attachment.
So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 stages.
Yep.
Alright, so the internal working model. Basically, at the end of your 4 phases of attachment, at around 2 years old, there's a set of expectations that you have for relationships. Now, if these expectations are good and you've had a good working model, it happens at the end of your 4 phases of attachment, at around 2 years old. Now, the internal working model is a set of expectations that you have for your relationships and the people that you get attached to. Now, if you have a good internal working model and you've had good 4 phases of attachment, then your relationship will turn out all happy, like mine and Libby's.
Best friends.
But if you have a bad working model, then and you've had a bad experience in your 4 phases of attachment, such as if your mother wasn't there for you, then you'll expect your people that you get attached to and that you have a relationship to never be there for you and never fully work with you. And that's pretty much like mine and Libby's relationship. She's never there for me. It's sad.
I try.
No, you don't. So this internal working model is self-fulfilling. If it's self-fulfilling in a way that if you become attached to someone in a good way, then they'll feel attached to you in a good way. And that will just strengthen your internal working model. Libby, would you like to explain what happens if it's in a bad way?
No, you keep going.
If you have a bad attachment to someone, then the likelihood is that they won't feel as attached to you as they should do. Now, this means that they will be less there for you and less there for you. Less and less there for you, basically, if you guys didn't understand that. Now, this will strengthen your model, because if you believe that people aren't there for you when you get attached to them and when you're in a relationship with them, then that will just strengthen it, because the person that you're in a relationship or attached with then won't be there for you. So the internal working model is self-fulfilling in that way.
Separation anxiety. This is when a baby walks away or crawls away or whatever, and the child starts feeling, well, anxiety, I guess, and it could go both ways. It's done on an evolutionary basis so that babies can help find their parents when they're lost by crying and whinging. Philco! 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 Oh, I was so anxiety. Affectionate psychopathy means it's kind of when you have a low guilt or empathy towards others, and they are the characteristics or traits of a psychopath. which then leads to a high criminality rate if actually going to slow down. Intellectual development. So, like many other things, Bowlby thought that this had a critical period. Remember, the critical period is something which, if it doesn't happen within that time, it won't happen at all. So he thought that intellectual development would, in the critical period, that would lead to prolonged separation. That doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, okay. It does make sense.
Okay, it does make sense.
I've got it. Okay, so intellectual retardation. Basically, Bowlby thought that intellectual development had a critical period. Now, if you remember, a critical period is something, if something doesn't happen within a certain time period, it won't happen at all. He also believed that prolonged separations from the PCG would lead to low intelligence. Separation can lead to cycles of protest and despair. This is where the child tries to fight the mother leaving and then gets really sad when the mother leaves. No, Libby, don't go! Libby, don't go, please! Libby, don't go. These cycles are meant for the mother to stay with the child. Usually this works, but when it doesn't work, it could lead to despair. Libby. And that is why we have cycles of protest and despair.